from your perspective, what is South Africa thriving in, with their comedies? What do you feel we lack as an industry?
Authentic comedy. And we used to know how to write authentic comedies back in the day. Stockfell, Mziwa 26.
Suburban Bliss.
Also Uvelapi. We used to write great sitcoms and great comedy. And then somehow along the line, we then transitioned. No tea, no shade. You know, when SABC became Yamampela, that's the transition where we now focused on crime and action. And until today, we are still there. However, I highly doubt the audiences don't want comedies, because now comedies are scarce to none, which I really hope we bring back. And I think they tried with How to Ruin Christmas. I mean, the nuances were really good. Impeccable in that, and gave hope to us, smaller writers. Gave us hope with, okay, it's not dead. Comedy's not dead, you know.
Hello there, my name is Marcus Nomvuselelo, and welcome to another exciting installment of the Film Biz Show, a show where we delve into the minds of film professionals and discover their insights on the current landscape of the film and television industry in South Africa and internationally. Now, if you're watching this for the first time, we know you're going to enjoy this episode. Please like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you know when a new episode is out. And today we're joined by a young professional who you could not believe has been in the industry for as short of a time as she has if you looked at her CV. From starting off as a radio producer at Touch HD to becoming a producer/production manager for ActorSpaces, all before graduating from Wits University. She then joined the Mnet Magic in motion and produced multiple short feature films, which helped her push her to become a powerhouse in the film and television industry. She worked on multiple projects from Mzansi Magic, Multichoice, and Honey TV. She worked on Miss SA Pageant and the Real Housewives of Johannesburg. And she's credited as Disney producer for the show Kizazi Moto, Generation Fire. And now she's working on her first feature film, Scammers, with her production house, Seamless Cut. Everyone, please, let's give a very, very warm welcome to Nomvuselelo, Dlamini. Hey. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So good to have you here. I'm glad that your episode comes like right when we're pushing into the summer. As you can see, the colors that we're wearing is nice and bright.
Yes.
Like your personality.
I try. It's a good day.
Thanks so much for making it here, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
How have you been?
I've been good.
Yeah.
I've been good. Can't complain.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I mean, it's so rare to find someone so young in the industry making such big moves as you have. So we have to know, like, what's your secret? How do you get it done? At this age, I mean, you've become Nomvuselelo Dlamini, powerhouse producer. How did you do it in such a short span of time?
Sure. How did I do it in such a short span of time? It's refusing to fail. So when I went to film school, right, at Wits, I always knew that I want to prove my parents wrong. Because when I told them I want to go into the film and TV industry, it was like, uzolamba, And so I was like, no, angenglambe. No, I will make money. I will be rich. Passions can feed you.
That's true.
And so I just made sure that I hustled and, did my research, found out that producers make 10% of the budget, saying.
That's
so
a good
I was
amount.
like, oh, that's where I'm heading.
I'm going right there.
That's where I am walking right into it. Little did they tell you that it doesn't actually go into your pocket, but that's for later. But so I started then hustling, trying to find a way to get my foot into the door. And eventually I did. I was in third year when I got my foot into the door and I met Thibo Touch. And
how did that happen?
let me tell you.
Touch is in the building.
So how it happened? So I was third year in media studies at Wits, and I remember they told us that we have to go to a digital media talk.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to go there until they said, it's compulsory for your marks. I was like, okay, fine, I guess, if I have to, And then I went there and my friends were like, nah, girl, we're not going. Sign for us. Because, there's like a little register. Like, no, so sign and I'm like, guys, no one is coming. No, Smiley. It's a Friday.
Yeah.
So I went there alone. It was after school hours. I think the talk was supposed to start at 5. People are not about that life, but I went because I'm a nerd. So I went, and touch was delayed. I remember thinking, this man, does he not know it's a Friday? How dare he?
We've got things to do.
We have things to do. Go watch series on Netflix on a free trial.
Definitely, yeah.
And then eventually he does come, and he came with his entourage, as Thibaut Touch will do. And he started talking about Touch HD. And, how digital media is the place to be, and, the growth and all of that, selling, all of that. And then at the end of it, there was Q&A. And then I just raised my hand. I was like, hey, quick question. I'm in film and TV. I know you're in radio, and it's not really, interlinked. But how would you advise a young person like myself? How do you get your foot in the door? And he's like, what's your name? I'm like, Nomvuselelo. He's like, you're hired.
Just like that?
Just like that.
Wow.
I didn't know what I was hired for. But son and Nomvuselelo.
Just like it. My first experience with meeting Thibaut Touch, I was still working in corporate IT, and I was extremely frustrated, looking to break into the arts, but I had no idea in which way I would go in. And I remember I met him in the parking lot, and he had all these posters. I think he was promoting an event when Bishop Noel Jones was going to be performing.
Oh, dope.
And I'm like, how do I do it? How do I enter? And the guy he really gave me advice. And he said, I like what you're doing, and never be afraid to ask for advice because it's free. Yeah. And most people will give it, you know. So I'm glad that happened. So what happens now? He says, okay, you're hired. And you're like, for what?
Well, you can't ask,
Thank you, sir. Like, Mr. Touch.
Yeah. And then after the talk, then a member from his entourage got my details. Congratulations, this is our address. Come through tomorrow, which was a Saturday. Come through tomorrow, and let's talk, so that we can find out what your interests are and how you can fit into the company. So then they made me a visual strategy intern. And I'm not going to lie to you, till this day, I don't know what that means.
No way. I don't believe you.
I don't know.
A visual strategy. Well, you came up with a strategy for the visuals, and you were into...
Of what?
I don't know. Because it's radio, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
of
cool.
What? I was like, cool. Signed. I was like, sharp. And then slowly but surely, I moved towards the radio, content producing. And so I became a content producing intern. I interned for The Touchdown. I interned for Tembisam Doda, Let's Do Lunch. And then that's how I got into the entertainment industry. I was through Thibaut Touch.
That must have been an amazing experience.
It was very new.
Yeah.
It was very new,
But like, okay, fine. So let's just take it back then. What led you to becoming a filmmaker? When did that, switch actually just flip and say, this is where I'm going? My God, I'm going here.
No, you know what, ne? I'm like any other black kid in this country. I wanted to be a YoTV presenter.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I'm sure even you.
No. Did I? I don't know. I don't remember. I had a crush on some of the presenters, that's for sure. But I don't know if I don't know. Maybe I did. I don't remember. Yeah.
No, I wanted to be a YoTV. I saw Abu Musa. I was like, I can do this.
Okay. And your personality, I must say, because I was going to ask, you've got such a bright personality.
Thank you.
You're the kind of person who walks in a room and you're noticeable.
Oh, wow.
You really,
Siyabonga.
yeah, well,
Oh,
for
wow.
real. So and I find that happen a lot with very strong performers. Very strong performers, not just any performer, So yeah, I'm not surprised that this is where it started.
This is I've actually been told that I should have been an actor by a few important people in the industry.
But I'm sure as a producer, when you check the pay slips, you're like,
it's
like,
why Nizolamba?
no, let me put a disclaimer to our
parents,
guys, it's not that bad, okay? It's not that bad.
Jokes.
Anyway,
Yeah, so I wanted to be a presenter. And then I didn't know how.
Yeah.
I am a young girl in the Val.
Ish.
I didn't know how. And then I started writing. In English, when you'd write creative essays.
Yeah.
So I started writing, and then my grade 4 teacher actually said to me, I always look forward to your creative essays. I was like, oh, really? She's like, yeah, you should write. So I started writing in a little notebook, and I started writing little stories. And in grade 8, I had a full book, and then I actually wrote a novel, and I made close friends read it, and they're like, "Girl, you was good. You was."
What was it about?
Look, in hindsight, they were lying, because the story was here and here.
Okay.
It wasn't consistent, right? And which is why I feel like artists should go to school,
it's so important
to hone their craft.
It's so important,
because when I got to varsity and I was in the writing class, I realized the reason why my story was here is because I didn't have an end in sight.
Yes.
So you start a story knowing how it's going to end, and that changed my writing.
Yeah.
But let me go back quickly to how I wanted to become a filmmaker. And so I started writing, and then I was like, but I still love TV. So how do I merge these two loves, And then one day I was on channel 100 on TSTV.
Which one is that one?
When you haven't paid your subscription.
Oh, that one.
Yes. And it's the only thing that
you can see.
Yeah.
That's the one that shows everything, little adverts of everything.
Little adverts and behind the scenes and all of that, right?
Yeah.
And so I caught up behind the scenes of a film. I can't remember what the film was, but they were speaking to the writer-director of the film, and he was just talking about how much he loves what he's doing, and the story of writing to actually directing it and going into post and all of that. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to write and direct. And I was in grade 8, and that was it. I want to write and direct. And told my parents, they're like, you're going to be hungry. And they hoped that I'd grow this love, but I didn't. And as soon as I matriculated and Wits said, come through, let's do film. And I went there running. And then,
you didn't apply for anything else?
I did, of course. I have black parents, bruh.
Yeah.
So I had to apply for doctor.
So, okay, then you got in, and from there you knew that, okay, we're running.
And then I found out about producing. And I was like, well, by directing. And
What did you major in?
I majored in everything, because Wits doesn't really let you major in one thing.
Okay.
So I majored in writing.
Yeah.
I majored in cine. Hated it. And I made cinematography.
Okay.
So the DOPs, hated it.
Cool.
I respect DOPs because I could never do that for a living. Never.
Real.
And editing, hated that as well. So they didn't have producing at Wits. So then I did the film performance management. So I can actually be your agent, Marcus.
Hey, man, come to think of it, I've been needing an agent.
I can be your
to
manager.
Make a switch,
But yeah, so that was the closest thing to production.
Yeah.
And so, that's what I took.
I'll tell you, out of the whole ecosystem, for me personally, yes, I respect the actors. I have a great deal of respect for producers. But the writers, I find them the most... maybe I'm sensationalizing it, but, most sensitive, most spiritual. I mean, it's like, because what everyone is doing is manifesting what is in this person's mind. And you are manifesting a conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, you argued this way. And then now you said that. I'm like, I really respect the craft in which you've chosen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I love it as well. It's so crazy. It's I see writing as spiritual.
It is. It's very spiritual.
Because you are formulating these characters, these people, these personalities, like you said, in your head, and you're putting them on paper. I remember when I was still writing Scammers, and I had other stories for different channels because I was like commissioned for other films at the time. And sometimes as I'm writing the script for another film, the characters from Scammers would seep into the next script.
Oh goodness.
And it's like, no, this is not for you. And they're like, well, when are you writing me? You know, it's my turn. It's my turn. And maybe it's schizophrenia. Possibly. But the characters become that real. I remember the first film I ever wrote was called Gyafiwa Ezulwini.
Oh yes.
Hello, Pichu. Oh, and welcome to the Department of Heavenly Affairs. Were you a good girl?
Which was a hit on Mzansi.
Mzansi.
Yeah, it was, people loved it.
Dope.
People,
Dope.
I read a few tweets. Cheers! Yes, to breaking records.
You know?
But I remember reading tweets and people are like, the writer must be on drugs, very sober.
Very sober.
Extremely sober.
Yeah.
But that's how spiritual writing is, where the people that watch, like, this can't have been from a sane person. I am, but the characters aren't sane. Because the conversations I would have, so even when it's like time to write dialogue, I would always like speak to the characters, like, how would you convey this? How would you say this? And they'll tell you, like, this is how my diction is. I wouldn't use the word therefore, you know, that's not who I am. And, you know, and yeah, they speak to you and then you're able to then translate what they've said to you on paper. And I remember when we were done with Gyafiwa and we got approached to do a sitcom for it. And then I was scared that we don't have enough story for a sitcom for 13 episodes. So I was like, let me talk to the characters. And I actually went back home and I was like, okay, guys, do you have enough story? What happens in your life after Gyafiwa Ezulwini?
Wait, this is just literally just you.
This is me in my room.
Talking.
This is me.
Alone.
Like, guys.
Okay.
Do you have story? Tell me what happens in your life after, you know, the credits have rolled. And they said, we don't have enough story, but we do have enough for a sequel. I was like, okay, cool. But what would that be about? And then one of the bit characters, Vusi, was like, actually, because so essentially Gyafiwa was heavenly, it was like home affairs in heaven, where you get selected, okay, you go into heaven, you're going to hell, kind of like the good place. And so there was a little bit role that was just for comic, relief that was refusing to go to hell. Like, no, but I'm God's favorite. And it was just like all we saw in the first movie. And now when I'm talking to the characters, it's like, but don't you want to know why I think I'm God's favorite? I was like, actually, let's unpack that. And we unpacked that. And then Gyafiwa Ezulwini was born.
Oh, Nkosi, andimi ndiyaboleka. Uyinkosi yelonzi wena. Uyinkosi enkulu yokuboleka.
So that's how spiritual it is for me, where the characters actually speak to me.
My goodness, that's a very powerful, it's a gift.
It is.
It's a very powerful gift. I mean, sometimes I've seen movies where writers take it overboard and, you know, because most of these things that you write at times, they do manifest, you know, it's like they say, we call it spelling, right? When you basically put a word together, you know, you spell it out.
Yes.
And that's the same word you use to cast a spell. And usually a spell is being cast with your mind or with your mouth. So you have the very same power. That is literal programming, and at times it really does manifest into reality. But what are some of the situations that you've seen where you write something and then you see it in reality, or, you know, have you had situations like that, or vice versa, where you're inspired by a reality and then you manifest it into the work?
So it's actually with the sequel, Gyafiwa Ezulwini, and I think it was the title that really caused the problem. So essentially, because we are now delving into the, you know, the supernatural, you know, comically, of course, but we still are digging into that world, into that, you know, space. Everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Here too.
From actors dropping us mid-scene, leaving.
My colleagues, what's going on, guys?
Hey, my colleagues. So,
but I hope you paid them though. That's fine.
Oh no, I pay.
Okay.
My crew and cost.
Okay. Let's continue. Okay,
I pay my crew and cost.
Yeah.
So actors leaving, the DIT losing footage, the climax. The climax. The climax.
That is the worst thing that can ever happen because it means all the work that you've put in is
gone.
So how did you find a way around it? You had to reshoot, recast?
Yeah, well, we didn't recast. So we had to reshoot all the scenes that were lost and the climax, because it was the climax and the scenes leading to. And then that made money that we didn't have. But we made it work, and we didn't pay ourselves to make it work.
Man, I always hate those situations, eh?
Yeah.
Because they say the first rule is of business, always pay yourself. And sometimes you're left without a choice because you've got a whole team, you've got soldiers who've been sacrificing, and you can't say, guys, sorry, my principle of business.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And also you've made promises to channel. Because before you shoot, you have to do this presentation. This is how we're going to treat it. Yeah. And if you don't deliver, you will be blacklisted because even though we're young. So yeah, we just had to just take it on the chin and we paid it from our pockets. We had to reshoot. I
bet you felt like strangling that date. Eh?
If I never see her again, it'll be too soon.
Oh my gosh, hopefully she's not watching this, but sheesh.
If she is, but she knows.
Yeah.
I told her, what's a girl?
Maybe she was still young and she'll come back. But now, you've had the privilege of interning under the Mnet Magic in Motion, where you were awarded many opportunities and you met your business partner there. You created Guyafiwa and later made a sequel, Guyafiwa Eshogueni, which I think, is a first for an intern to do. You were also the first to write and produce rather than direct. Do you feel the internship was a valuable tool in becoming a filmmaker? Absolutely.
And to all the young people listening in or watching in rather, please apply. The vast opportunities that are afforded to you, I can't even list all of them. So before you get to make your own film, they take you to the biggest productions in the country and you learn from the best. And you get mentorship and you get prepped by the best in the country. So for me, I went to the River, I went to the Queen, I went to the Real Housewives of Johannesburg. I also got to sit in with Channel. I learned how shows get commissioned and how to send a proposal and how they think, which helped me a lot once I started writing my own stuff for the channel, because now you know how they think, in their psyche, and not many writer-producers get that opportunity. Exactly.
Magical opportunity.
Magic in
motion. Because most of us, we learn from the outside in, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh no, how do you, and then maybe you're part of some of these Zoom calls when they call, but for real, the real bossas know already how they're going to play the game.
Exactly.
So it was a huge blessing for you to be in that position.
Yeah, well, it's now called Multichoice Talent Factory.
Oh, yes.
They rebranded.
Yeah, okay.
Don't want to step on toes.
Talent Factory, guys. Multichoice Talent
Factory. I don't want to step on toes. But yes, so, you get to learn from the inside, from the breathing machine on how everything works. And so when you graduate, you know how to penetrate. Yeah.
Well, penetrate you surely have, man. You really, really have.
Thank you.
But when we speak of business, you've started your production house and actually have work to show for it, which is unique. Some people, you register, after 15 years, it's like, what has been going on? We're going to wipe this off. But again, you were able to get 3 slates, with Mzansi Magic without the help of Mnet.
So currently, some of the projects that we're working on, one of them is called Guyafiwa Eshogueni, and then our second one is called Korobela, which is kind of like a dating app, romantic comedy. And then our last one is called Skolom, which is kind of like an inspirational sports drama being rugby.
Could you share with us the lessons you've learned from starting a business so young in your career?
Sure. Firstly, I've learned about taxes. And I think as artists and filmmakers, we never consider this tax man and how much damage he can do to you. So I think that's the first lesson, taxes and the importance thereof and all the intricate details, that you need to be aware of to ensure that your company is tax compliant. It was not a thing for me before, but now you have to be tax compliant. And if you aren't tax compliant, you can't actually get more slates or gigs from any other investor because it's the first thing they check. Are you tax compliant? So that's the first thing I've learned. I've also learned how to make my art a business, how to make money from my art, which again, I think you never really think of that when you're in your creative bubble, all you think of is, okay, let me get this role or let me write this little short film, but you don't think of how do I capitalize, how do I monetize, my gift. And when you're running a company, that has to be what your brain is thinking all the time. How do I make money? How do I, I have this joke in my head. How do I make money from this joke? How does a script form from this joke? And that's what I've learned. And also because at a young age, now you have people's livelihoods depending on you, which was quite heavy. It's actually how I got anxiety, where I'd have panic attacks because you have a crew of 60 people and they're all depending on you not messing up, getting that commission, you getting that pitch. And if you don't, people texting you like, ma'am, when's our next gig? I haven't had a job in 3 months, and I had to carry that from like 23 years of age. And
So, now that we're talking, of all these things which your young company's achieved, I want to touch on just the power of no. Because I found that in times it's the no's that define you as a creative and as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
At times more than the yeses that have you been in situations where you've had to walk away from an offer? You felt that we are not aligned with this opportunity?
Yeah. A few.
Whoa, okay.
A few.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to just piggyback on what you said, the power of no and the power of not explaining why.
Oh, wow.
Because I feel like, especially when you're young, you think you have to give a reason why.
Yeah.
When it's like, no, a no is sufficient.
It's sufficient.
A no is enough. So yes, I've had a few. So I've had a few on the business point of view. And I've also had a few as a freelancer. Sometimes I freelance when we're not having any films, right, that are currently being shot. The most hardest one was a friend. So they had a show, it was a low budget film.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I need you to help me with this show, X, Y, and Z. I'm like, okay, what's the budget? They wanted me to line produce. I'm like, what's the budget? And they're like, oh, the budget is like 900K. I was like, oh, I'm going to have to pass. And then why?
But you've made films for like a quarter of that.
See, that's why I don't want to do films that are below at least 2 million. That's true. Because of my trauma.
Yeah, you've gone through it all.
I've gone through it all. I know how to, negotiate with crew and negotiate 50 cents. Only have 50 cents. Let me have a rand. Only have 50 cents. And it's not a good place to be. I don't know about other producers, but I, as a producer, I hate that. I hate not paying people money that they can use to pay their bills and live comfortably. It bothers me because I wouldn't like that myself, And so for me, when this offer was okay, it's 900K, I need you to, do X, Y, and Z on this. I was like, and how much would I get? And then she said the amount. I was like, friend, I'm sorry, I can't.
Well done.
Because at the end of it, whether it's a big budget or a small budget, the outcome is still the same. you're still facing the same problems, right? Because producing is troubleshooting. You know, everyone runs to you with their issues and you have to problem solve. And on top of that, you have to do the admin, you have to do, you know, you're doing all the thinking, no offense. You're doing all the
that's
thinking.
true.
And
That's why I respect producers so much. It's not just anyone who can do it, really.
No, it's not.
No.
It really isn't. And so you're doing all of that, and then at the end of the day, the money you're going to get is not going to be enough to pay your bills.
It's not worth it.
It's not enough to even get you anxiety medication.
But do you feel like you have to earn the right for that no? Like, if you hadn't done those low budget films and seen that, sure, this is not worth, you know, the trouble, then you would not have and you know, sometimes people think, because I remember I was talking to a colleague and I was like, no, lately I just say no. If this is not what's working out for me, I say, they're like, oh no, you probably earn it because you probably have money. I said, no. There was a time I said no and I was dead broke. And funny, that's when you call on what's meant to come for you.
Yeah.
When you say no, you know. But do you think you had to earn that right? You had to go through the toil of first being kicked in the dust and, you know, put in the corners and intern.
Earn your stripes.
Yeah, earn your stripes, basically.
It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. I'm going to say yes or no, right? Yes, especially for line producing, production managing. You kind of have to earn your stripes, so to say, for people to actually trust that you can run their production. Right? To get to a point where people call you. I don't apply anymore. People just hit me up. I need a blind producer. I need a, you know, and it's by God's grace, really, you know, to be at that point this early in my career. But to even get there, you would have to have toiled. People need to know, Guti, if I give her 50 cents, she's going to make it work. If I give her 50 rand, she's going to make it work. If I give her 50,000 rand, she's definitely going to make it work, you know, relative to scale. And so to then be in a position where you're saying, okay, I can't take this role because now you're thinking as a producer, because if the budget is only 50 rand, we haven't accounted for, you know, X, Y, and Z, you know, you haven't accounted for cash flow. Have you done a cash flow projection or a cash flow analysis? You know, all of that. What are the tranches? Which is another thing, you know, because we don't get the full amount, you know, like, here you go.
Yeah.
So, you know, have we thought about that? Like, how are we going to stretch the rand, you know? And so that is a lot of work, and you need to know how to do that work properly. And that is earning your stripe, and that is experience. And so when you get to that point where you can say no, it's because you carry that experience. No, financially, not just for me, but for the production, that doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
You know, and you ask what does the client want, and you look at those expectations, and you're looking at the money, and it's I can't stand. Then you have to say no.
Yeah.
And a new producer or a new production person wouldn't have that know-how and wouldn't be equipped to say no. So that's why I'm saying yes and no to your question. Yeah, I get depend.
I've also had to say no, and it's harder to a friend, you know, someone that's just like, no, it's my buddy. Don't worry, it's no. You know, so hectic, man. But I think it's safe to say, I mean, you're more of a, how should I put this? You're more of a private, you know, kind of a writer, as you don't write in the writing room, but you focus more on film, especially comedy. Which is something I love as well.
You don't say.
But from your perspective, what is South Africa thriving in? You know, with their comedies, what do you feel we lack as an industry?
Authentic comedy. Yeah. I think, and we used to know how to write authentic comedies back in the day. Stockfell. Yeah.
Oh man, what a classic! Shout out. My very first mentor, James Ngobo. He was in
Yes.
Stokvel leading that.
Yes.
And I was like, man, this is so funny. This is genuine. Anyway.
And
Yeah.
it didn't feel slapstick.
No.
It was a sitcom.
Yeah.
It was a sitcom.
It was real funny. Anyway,
was-
Joe Mafela.
You know,
His good is nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, many people don't remember this comedy. It was on SABC One, Mziwa 26.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Which I think was
Yeah.
ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
You know,
It really was. Suburban Bliss.
yes,
Dude, Suburban. My family and I, we used to like always, like, I think it was on Sunday when it played or something. Used to play on SABC2, I think after Felicia or before, but we always.
You are old, eh?
Well, you know, this gray hair is not here for nothing. You went around in terms of Suburban Bliss. Oh, wow.
I only
That
know
was-
it from YouTube. I
Oh,
didn't.
snap.
So you like it played after, like,
No, for real. Yeah,
Yeah.
we saw apartheid end. Yeah.
I was born after.
Oh, okay. No, we literally
apartheid.
threw some stones and ran. I'm joking. I
We
was
thank
too
you
young
for your
that.
sacrifice.
Thank you. I'm a Mandela.
Amandla.
Yeah, man. But
Yes.
Yeah.
No, also Uvelapi. You know what I mean?
Ah,
So
man.
we used
Rest in peace,
to
great. Yeah.
we used to write great sitcoms
Yeah,
and
it's
great
true.
comedy. And then somehow along the line, we then transitioned no tea, no shade to Yamampela.
Yeah.
You know, when
Yeah.
SABC became Yamampela,
Yeah.
that's the transition where we now focused on crime and action. And until today, we are still there, you know.
But I think also, sorry to interject, one thing I've learned with content is that it's trendy. So meaning
True.
the kind of content people would consume during COVID would be more comedic and they would look for less depressing things.
Absolutely.
You know, the kind of content we'd consume in the mid-90s was more action-based, Van Damme, Schwarzenegger, and so on and so forth.
It's really all about the audience,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
However, I highly doubt the audiences don't want comedies because now comedies are scarce to none.
Yeah.
We
And the ones we have sometimes tend to be a bit too slapstick.
exactly,
You know?
exactly.
And I think comedy is a very difficult genre to crack
it is.
as a writer
Yes,
and as
As
an
a
actor.
performer,
As a
yeah.
performer, because
and as a director,
because you learn from stand-up comedians, what makes something funny is when you say or do something that's unexpected.
the nuances,
The nuances, you know what I mean? Like what only you see that the audience doesn't see, or what the audience sees but you don't see, stuff
exactly,
like that, you know?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think we got lazy.
Yeah.
We got lazy because right now with the comedy that we are in development with, I was talking to my creative team and I was like, I want us to think about comedy in not just the dialogue and not just the performance, but in the wardrobe. What do we see on frame?
Yeah.
I said, I want to see a joke in frame every time, but not necessarily spoken or whatever, you know, in the background, what's happening in the background, people crossing, looting a couch, you know, like those nuances, that's what I want to
that's
see,
it.
you know. And I think we've gotten so lazy where it's just performance and dialogue. We're not thinking about wardrobe, you know. It's a chubby man wearing a figure belt, you know, those things, you know. Which I really hope we bring back. And I think they tried with How to Ruin Christmas. I mean,
Yeah, man, that was
the
good.
nuances
That was
were,
really good.
you know,
Yeah,
impeccable
yeah.
in that and gave hope to us,
Yeah.
you know, smaller writers, because the Ramapekala is on another league.
You're not smaller, man.
No, protocols must be observed.
that.
But yeah, so, you know, it gave us hope. Okay, you know, it's not dead. Comedy's not dead, you know, where it's not just about slipping on a banana peel. And
For real. I remember when I was still starting out, there was this creative, it was like, man, I've got this idea, because he owned a coffee shop. It's like, oh, you know, let's, you know, make a comedy, And, you know, and as we were writing, I'm like, dude, this, and he's laughing as you know, this is, it's not funny, you know? Like, and the problem as well is like, you know, when you're too in your head and when you're too excited about a project,
Yes.
and when you don't open up, especially that process, you know, to other creatives. And I also ask myself at times, like, we don't get enough comedians writing these shows. Sometimes we don't have comedians and comedians. Not all comedians can act, but they understand the power
of writing,
how to crack a joke.
Yes.
You know, I mean, yeah. My favorite is a guy called. Anyway, it's your interview. Yeah.
No, but I want to know. Can't leave me hanging.
His name is Salesman.
Salesman.
Yeah, Kimopedi. He's
Okay.
for me, he's the funniest comedian.
Oh, wow.
He just killed the way he talks, the stuff how he just changes something, you know.
Okay.
You think you're going there and
He subverts your expectation.
oh man. But like so at times we struggle to kind of just take that and put it into narrative, you
Absolutely.
know, form, long form. Yeah, but I'm happy that you're taking on that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because apparently I'm funny.
Yeah, you are.
Apparently.
You are.
And apparently my scripts are funny.
Yeah, okay.
So.
Okay. Oh, cool. That's really great, man. But now, I mean, Seamless Cut just got awarded funding from the Presidential Employment Stimulus Package. And again, this is like, it's not the first time, is it?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, for PSP, yes. Yes, it's our first time being funded by the PSP.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
They gave you money to create Scammers.
Yes.
And this film is your baby,
It
which is very
is.
exciting.
It is.
That's very exciting, man. A lot of people in our industry, they get funding and then they're quick to produce content, push the content out. However, you've been developing and raising funds for it for the past few years.
Sure.
You know, you've been like putting in, moving, putting in, and seeing the vision long term. How come you didn't just jump into production once you've received the funding, first approval, and say, okay, well, we got, X amount, and what lessons have you learned that taught you, or that that made you patient enough to keep on putting in? And also, don't these funding cycles have limits, like? Or time frames or windows to say, if we give you this 1.3 million, you must have produced the product by next year, September. And how did you navigate that?
Okay, cool. Lovely question.
Sure.
So with getting funding for feature-length films, right? So when you submit your application, right, you submit with a budget in mind. And so when I submitted to the NAVF 2 years ago, I was like, this is how much I want to make this film. And this is the script, this is this, and this is, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then they said, oh, great, we're only giving you 1.8. And then what many young producers don't know, and which I found out myself, is that if you've said to NAVF, this film is going to be 15 million rand, and they say to you, well, that's great for you, but I'm only giving you a million. They don't give it to you until you find the other money. And they give you 24 months to find the other money.
That's more than enough, though.
Yeah. They give you 24 months. Like, okay, cool. This is how much we're giving you. Like, they ask for a financial plan, like where you tell them, okay, I'm going to ask from DSTV, I'm going to ask from this, I'm going to ask from who, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, okay, cool. Go well, go shall. Let us know when you've accumulated this money. And so now you're working within that time frame of, okay, I only have 24 months to raise this X amount of money. And yeah, and so that's what so it wasn't really a thing of, oh, I just want to, keep, adding.
You had the plan. You knew this is worth X amount.
Exactly.
And
yeah, because also as I was writing, which is a sin, but as I was writing, I already knew which actors I wanted to approach.
Okay, which I think that's fair. That's
It's
good.
a sin because so I wear two hats, writer and producer. It's a sin for the producer because now once the writer hat is off and then now the producer hat is on, it's like, in what world is this going to happen?
I know, right?
And so, but because I was like, no, but this is my first feature, we need to make it work. So I spoke to the producer in me, like, we need to make it work. And so she drafted a budget, her being me, that's going to accommodate the dreams, the dream cast, the dream locations, the dream, all the dreams the writer me had. So not to stifle them. And because of that, then that's why I've been collecting, asking for sugar here, asking for eggs, lapha, to make this cake.
I think your career is a living testimony that of how important it is to be multi-skilled in the space.
Yes.
Because it's one thing being a prolific writer, but if you didn't have the producing skill set, you wouldn't be able to take that from you. And I find that, when I meet brilliant writers, they're like, Marcus, please just, help me get money for this. Help me, and I'm like, I've already got projects I'm trying to push myself.
Yeah.
So with you, at least you're like, I got this. I've written this thing, and I know the rules and regulations of the principles of how writing works, and I've got mentors that I can consult. And once you take off that hat, you wear a different hat.
Yes.
And then you do it, and you know the parameters of this skill set, and you've got mentors that you can consult, and then it happens. As opposed to relying on one skill set and begging everyone else who have the other skill sets. It's counterproductive. So well done for that.
Thank you. And I've actually also met writers that are like, please help me. And it's like, I want to help you, but because also we're living in a country where, recently that famous person who got sued for stealing someone's idea.
Oh, okay.
And he had a great cooking show on a certain channel.
All right.
That turns out that the cooking show was someone else's idea.
Oh, yes. But that happens very often.
But now here's the thing, right? And it's what I always tell people that give us unsolicited scripts. I always say, I'm not going to read this because my mentor, Bobby Heaney, he said something to me years ago that just because the idea lives in your head doesn't mean it lives in your head alone.
Yeah, someone else has tapped into it.
Exactly.
Which goes so true.
It goes back to writing being spiritual, right? So the story goes to someone, and if you don't write it, it goes to someone who will.
That's true.
Right? And sometimes it doubted that you're going to write it, and then it went to someone else, and then now two of you have this idea, and you both write it. And then this other one sends you an unsolicited script. And it just so happens you are in development
of the same thing. I want to put two examples of it. Shaka Ilembe was done. At the same time, King Shaka by NBC, the international
on Showtime.
Showtime was being shot in Cape Town. Unfortunately, that one was
that fell
cancelled.
through.
Very last minute. Also, there's another show on Netflix called Painkiller. Very interesting. It's also a biographical story about a company that was essentially selling opium. Opium?
Yeah.
That's
the drug.
like Inyaope, essentially, in a pill as a painkiller to Americans, and they made a fortune. And on Disney, the very same story, but obviously different production company, and that's called Dope Sick. So both of them had that idea at the same time and ran with it.
Yes.
But for me as a creative producer, my thing is always make sure that you are able to register that IP.
Yes.
Always make sure.
Absolutely.
Especially if it's a biographical story, get the rights from that person. So have a lawyer. The lawyer I work closely with is not an IP lawyer. He knows IP, but that's not his specialty. But I know I need him, for NDAs.
Absolutely.
For the most mundane things.
Yeah.
And then when I need to go into deep conversation, I have an IP lawyer I know his price tag is quite expensive. I have to gym a bit.
Yes.
And then we work that out. But find a way to protect this work so you don't work under pressure.
Absolutely.
He's writing this. I have to write.
I must release it first.
I got the rights. I'm cool. I'm chilled.
Yeah. And also, as much as the idea will go to someone else, it's how you treat the idea will make it you.
Oh yeah.
Right? But people will still be, nitpicky and be like, yeah, but I sent you a script and whatever. So Seamless Cut is a thing where we don't accept unsolicited scripts. We will rather direct you to the channels that you should go to, go to the NVF, go to Mnet submission portal, SABC, ETV, whatever. We will advise you, we will give you that information, but to protect ourselves, no.
What if it's just a friend who say, man, I got this girl.
I haven't even read Jules' script.
Ow.
And she's my friend.
And she's brilliant. And you know, and guys, to be honest, reading a script is a lot.
Also, and then also, I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah.
I'm all about the formatting of a script.
Sure.
Don't give me a script where the action is in the dialogue. Guys, when we have softwares that help us.
We've seen a lot of stuff. So now, as a next generation filmmaker, what are some of the things that you are seeing within the industry that you would like to change, that you feel could propel us to the next level as a country within this business? And maybe a word of advice to young people who are coming up.
Wow, these questions are really making me think, huh? I'm not just here to be pretty, I see.
You're used to thinking, come on. Yeah.
The challenges and things that I'd like to see change in the industry. I would love for the gatekeeping to stop. Because I think as much as the opportunities are there, but the information about the opportunities isn't easily accessible. And what I would love to see change is, having those opportunities, readily available for all the young filmmakers out there. Because I'm not gonna be naive and think, oh yeah, it's, purely just me, as much as I'd like to believe that. But it is the fact that somebody thought, hey, let's make this information about the Magic in Motion internship available to film students to apply, and that awarded me the opportunity to, become, the person that I am today. And not only from the outside, I think gatekeeping also within the, the industry, where you're in, but people still don't want to give you information on how do I get on Amazon? How do I get on Netflix? How do I, there's a lot of gatekeeping where we feel like I can't share information with Marcus because then there will be less for me. And I'd love for us to reach a point where we realize that there's more than enough for everyone.
More than enough. More than enough.
And we don't need to keep information, if there's like a call, for young producers to, submit at Mnet, tell the other people, don't be selfish. And I think within the industry, that's something that we struggle with, from junior, mid to senior. It's a thing where we want to just keep it close.
Which is, as we go back to the very beginning, what I respect about a personality like Thibaut Touch, at that level in which he was at, a young kid. I was literally working in IT at the call center to come and say, how do I break in? And to give me time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
Yeah.
And even myself, where the great producers like Bobby Heaney, Leila Swart, give me the time of day. People that did Soul City, of a good report, these are big shots. And when you send them like a WhatsApp, they don't blue tick you, they actually reply like, oh, maybe consider X, Y, and Z, tackle this like that, and it's only like a select few, and Thibaut Touch, select few that really want to give that information and those opportunities, and everyone else is very stingy with them. And I think,
but I also sometimes I ask myself, because when I look at the mentors that I've had, and I'm like, how come I'm sitting next to this guy like this, like just leisurely talking about life, and then it seamlessly goes into business? How did I get this opportunity? Especially, because most of these guys I met them before I'd done anything. Anything noticeable. So, and you've managed to get some powerful, mentors, and I've also been very blessed to get those. What do you think is the what is it that made you noticeable to them? Because I've had kids who are like, please mentor me. And you can see, oh man, this child is not serious. Like they don't really know what they want, But what do you think is it that made you get into those rooms and have those close relationships with those personalities?
I think more than anything, so many of those kids, right? Because I also get approached by those kids. They say, I want you to be my mentor, but they haven't done their own homework.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because you say you love this business, but you haven't actually sacrificed time to even Google what is the difference between a line producer and an executive producer, but you want to produce, but you don't know the difference, and so for me, I pride myself with researching like till I break Google. And asking questions, and because that's how then you know that this person's actually passionate and is really, really interested in this genre or this industries, because you've taken the time to learn and teach yourself, and where you've fallen short to then can go to these powerful names and say, okay, this is what I know. But I'd like to know further. Help me, And I think that's what maybe made them like me and give me time of day. And then to also answer the last part of your question is, what would the advice be to younger, filmmakers? Is that teach yourself. I feel like as much as it's a passion, it's still a craft, and you must treat it as a craft. The same way you're not just going to go to a doctor and be like, just want to shadow you, and you don't, research or go to school. You do the same thing with this as well. Go to school, find if funds are a thing, because we are in a country where, not everyone is privileged to go to tertiary. Then go and read a book about the industry, make an effort, and then knock on those doors. They will open. No door can be shut for long. Knock. And I must say also, when you're knocking on DMs, don't say hi.
Yay.
And you leave it there.
Hola.
Don't say hi. Respect the person's time, which is another thing that I respect highly, people's time, especially people that I'm trying to learn from. I'm not going to waste Layla's time. I'm not going to waste Bobby's time. I'm not going to waste Desiree's time. So if I'm coming with a problem that I need help with, I'm writing it like an email. Even if it's on WhatsApp, like, hi Layla, I would like help. Bam.
Get to the point.
Get to the point. Eish. Don't say hi.
How was your day?
I'm not your friend.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so frustrating. Like, just shoot your shot, get out the room, and then we'll review. Like, okay,
exactly.
Let's talk.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So apply and write your text on your DM like an email.
Boom.
And guys, I can't emphasize even more. Apply. Many people talk themselves out of applying, whether it's a bursary, whether it's NVF, PSP, like, oh, maybe my story's not good enough. But what if
it is?
What if it is?
What if it's what they want? And
what if, you are one of 5 that actually applied?
So
you definitely getting that funding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So apply. Apply, guys. Can I look into the camera?
Please do.
Apply, guys. Apply,
guys.
Please. Yeah. Those are my pearls of wisdom.
Wonderful.
You guys are welcome.
Now we're in the game section of our interview.
I'm going to beat you.
I'm going to ask you some questions, and we're going to see if you're able to answer them. Right. Okay. So the name of this game is called Either Or.
Is it like a Speedfire?
Yeah, type of thing, but not really. It's called Either Or.
All right.
Or either Or.
Okay.
In America.
Not the twang coming out.
So I'll give you 2 similar options, and then you take your pick.
Okay. All right.
But we just want to gauge your taste, just get a sense of.
And if I win,
trust
do you guys fund me for my next film?
You're going to get a big prize. You are going to get a high five. And then
I can't sell that.
So it's basically, the game is basically like an adaptation of Who You'd Rather.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Are you game? Yeah.
Let's go.
Isibaya or Uzalo?
I haven't watched Isibaya or Uzalo.
Okay, cool. You haven't watched Isbaya?
No.
Interesting. For me, it's the inverse. I watched Isbaya, but I just never.
Because I loved Mubango.
Oh,
And
right.
it played during Mubango.
Oh,
and I was, I need to know what Tandaza is doing.
Oh. Makes sense. Yizo or Gazlam?
I was banned because I'm young. I'm the youngest person in the room.
Okay.
I was banned from watching both, but I want to say Gazlam.
Gazlam, for real? Have you watched Yizo recently?
I have.
What
No,
do
not
you think?
recently.
Now on but you've watched it before?
Yes.
The season? Okay. It was groundbreaking in its time.
No, absolutely. Desiree and Angus.
Yeah, boom, boom, boom.
Lalela.
Yeah, man. Henry Qele or Lemogang Tsipa.
Henry, man.
Oh, okay. All
Henry.
right, cool. Yeah, you know,
That's
he set
Struggle
the
Zulu,
bar.
bruv.
Yeah. But shout out to Lemogang, man. Like, he really represents us, you know. Generations or Generations the Legacy.
Oh, please. Ungadlalanga ama-answer. Generations OG.
Oh, for real?
Legacy.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, it's a legacy, man.
Yeah.
There's a new one coming out. Generations there. New one. Blood and Water or Miss Education.
When I say miseducation, because my friend is one of the writers.
Oh, who's
So,
your friend?
Oratile Mogoje.
Oratile, shout out.
I'm a
Alright,
loyal
cool.
friend.
Yeah, no, that's loyalty. Rhythm City or Backstage? We're taking you back school. You weren't even in that generation.
Actually, I was.
For real?
I was
Great.
backstage. I was Vosi, but share my breakdown.
Yeah.
But I want to say Rhythm City.
Oh, yeah? All right, cool.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is a no-brainer. Karabo Moroka or Brooke Logan? Let's see.
I'm gonna say Brooke
For real?
because I wasn't a fan of Karabo.
And the next one is dubbing or subtitles.
Subtitles.
Yeah, I think so too.
Subtitles.
Yeah, I think so too.
I want to hear the actor's voice.
Yes.
Because sometimes the dub artists aren't actual performers.
Yeah,
And so it's a flat delivery.
Oh yeah, it is. I've seen great movies, Scandinavian movies, and you're like, man, should have just rather written it because remember, kind of what's this one? Apocalypto, Mel Gibson. Come on,
I haven't seen this.
Apocalypto.
Was it in the 80s?
No, it's recent now. Not very recent, but in the 2000s.
I haven't
Brilliant.
seen that.
All
Is it?
subtitles. It's the Anchor people. It's an historic story, and everything was written. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's like also I think Passion of Christ. The subtitles.
Yes,
Yeah,
it was.
you
It
know,
was.
same director, same producer. Hollywood or Nollywood?
Nollywood.
For real? Just give me a proper reason why.
Because have you seen a Nollywood film?
Amandla, what?
Amandla.
Yeah.
You like I beg you. I love pidgin English. I love
Okay.
it. I grew up on Jackie Appiah, Genevieve Njai. Look, I see Hollywood, but also Hollywood for me showed us white people, not to be racist.
Yeah.
But then Nollywood, you saw dark-skinned women being portrayed as beautiful, you know, which was great for, you know, a young girl like me. Like, black is beautiful. So I'm going to have to say Nollywood. And of course, those stories were fire.
Very, very much so. Would you consider doing some collaborations in the future with, you know, Nigerian directors, writers, producers?
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
And funny, you know, one thing I love about it, I mean, you know, during when we go to these festivals and these film markets, I always meet a new Nigerian filmmaker friend.
Nice.
They always just, and they just pay from their own pocket. Like, I'm gonna go to Durban.
Oh, wow.
I don't know, you know what I'm saying? And we very rarely do we do that.
No, they hustle.
They hustle.
Nigerians hustle.
I respect them for that.
No, Nigerians hustle.
Alrighty, studio, set, or location?
Sure. Studio set or location. I like the piece of studio, but it gets boring. So I'm going to say location.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Just the logistics can be hectic.
You're preaching to the choir.
So tell me this, what is your all-time favorite South African film?
Wow. All-time favorite South African film. I used to love Number.
Oh yeah, Number.
Number.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to love it.
Yeah.
Used to watch it on YouTube, used to pirate it because I was poor.
Things changed.
Things change. Levels.
Look at the watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so now, so Number, I enjoyed it.
First or second installment?
The first original.
Okay.
Original. And that, folks, is a wrap.
And so now, if someone was to make a biopic, a film about your life, right?
Ooh.
Who would you pick to direct it? Who would you pick to produce it? Who would you pick to write it? And who would you pick to star in it?
Oh my. Never thought of this.
Okay.
A biopic. Who would I pick to write it? It would have to be Mazi. Mazi's my business partner.
Yeah.
He is a story guru. That man knows how to pen a story. So it would definitely be him. Who would direct it would have to be my other business partner, Charlie Sampson.
Okay.
This is not an ad. Charlie Sampson.
Shout out to Charlie. Pay us. Yeah.
Charlie Sampson. I think he's, and not because I'm biased, but I feel like he's the next top director this country has ever seen. So in a couple of months.
How many, sorry, before we get to the next, how many partners do you have in the company?
There's 2, so there's 3 of us.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Okay.
And then so that's writing, directing. Who would produce it? I would produce it.
Yeah.
Is that narcissist?
No, it is not. No, it is not.
I would produce it myself.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a bit of a control freak.
Lovely.
So, and then who would star in it? I feel like Thuso Mbedu.
Oh, Thuso. Okay, cool. I was going to say, like, you have not studied acting to that point where you... Yeah, Thuso. Shout out to Thuso Mbedu.
Thuso Mbedu, yeah. Hopefully then the biopic will have enough money to afford Thuso Mbedu.
You need real money there.
Your bank account must
You need dollars, Baba. You don't need 20 million rands.
No, babe.
How much is 20 million rands? 20 million rands in dollar, it's $1 million.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, 20 million rands is $1 million. So you probably need about $20 million minimum, which is going to happen.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
From your lips to God's ears.
But I want to ask you a question before we close.
Yes.
Amongst you and your business partners, how do you handle conflict? How do you handle that?
Conflict. Okay. We've grown over the years.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be the first to say, and they'll probably comment and say this is true. And the first couple of years, we fought like siblings.
Yeah. Yeah.
And over the years, as we've matured and we've grown, now we are in a place where we can, communicate like adults, like business partners with respect, where it's like, okay, I did not like X, Y, and Z because I think it affects the business as 1, 2, 3, and here's the solution. However, I do want to hear your point of view. So I think it's having clear communication lines, being safe to speak your mind in a respectful manner, and then when you bring a problem, I'm a firm believer of bringing a solution as well. So I can't say, Marcus, I don't like it when you wear orange and that's it. So I'm like, no, I don't like it when you wear, I want you to wear pink because I feel like it brings out your eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's how I deal with conflict within the business.
There's a lot to learn there. I mean, there's power in collaboration.
Yes.
But I think it has to be very maturely managed.
Absolutely.
Because expectations can easily be broken in there. Yeah. Okay, interesting. So thank you, Nomvuselelo, for such an invigorating conversation. I loved it. Having a conversation with the next generation of filmmakers is something that's refreshing, and someone like yourself is a living testimony that it is possible and the future is bright, and we will be doing great things, and we're not afraid to break boundaries. So it puts our minds at ease with what's to come. We can't wait to witness your big project, Scammers. Once it's out, I hope we come into the premiere. We want to cover the premiere.
Okay. Yes. You have to.
We're doing a lot more episodes. We'll be outside of the studio and engaging with our audiences. Yeah. So we should definitely have your back for another chat.
It'll probably be at a rate though.
Oh, it's fine. Look, we would like to say thank you to Fortunewell, the Dynamic Workspaces, as well as the Magic Lightbox Company for sponsoring this episode. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for following us.